What's up guys, Tommy Bowyer here from Movie Rewind, and today I thought I would count down the top 5 kids shows that I grew up with. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to just say a few disclaimers before we get into this ranking. So firstly, I'm 21 years old, so I grew up with kids shows predominantly in the 2000s, which was a very unique time. Kids shows took a lot of risks during that era, so I'm very glad I grew up with it, but please bear that in mind. Secondly, I am incredibly biased. I think everyone's biased, but especially with kids shows, it's very subjective. So if you do not agree with this ranking, then that is absolutely fine. Please feel free to comment your own ranking down below. I'd love to hear what you think. And thirdly, I've done top 5 because I could have been here all day. I watched so many kids shows when I was a kid. So I've narrowed it down to top 5, and basically these 5 choices are kids shows that I remember really enjoying, that I would watch all the time. So these were very special. They hold a special place in my heart for when I was a kid, obviously. And if I ever see these on the off chance on TV, if I'm browsing through the channels, then they always bring a smile to my face. So anyway, now that all that's out of the way, let's get on with the ranking. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 2003 version. I loved growing up with this series. It was dark. I can honestly not see some of the scenes in this series getting through the censors today, which is great. I like it when series, especially kids shows, are a bit more edgier and tackle darker themes, and this is what this series did. But it weren't dark all the time. There was plenty of comedic and light-hearted moments. I especially liked the brotherly love that the Turtles shared. I thought that was handled really well. Their relationship with Master Splinter as well, I thought was really good. This was a show about learning. You really could feel the Turtles learning new skills as time went on. Shredder, he was a formidable villain. Always loved Shredder and the Foot Clan. I have to say though, my favourite villain from this series was Agent Bishop. I mean, he was able to defeat all 4 Turtles with his sunglasses and a tie. He was really overpowered as hell, and I loved him for it. So Agent Bishop is always a villain that stood out in my mind. This was a great TV show. The first 4 series are amazing, especially series 4. That is phenomenal. They tackle so many dark themes in that series that I just think that is so impressive. Yes, series 5 to 7 I enjoy, but they kind of go in a bit of a lighter direction, which is okay, but the first 4 series are so much better. I loved Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Everyone, of course, has their favourite series. Some like the original, some like the 2012 version. For me, it was the 2003 version. Beautiful animation, plus it was dark as hell. Power Rangers Jungle Fury, and it kind of shows how much of an impact this show had on me, because I still remember the first episode I saw to this day. It was released around 2008, so I was about 7 or 8 years old when this first aired, and I still remember the first episode I watched. It was halfway through the series. I was getting ready for school, and CITV was on for some reason, and I remember seeing this episode of this series. And I think from then on, I used to watch it daily at one stage. I was obsessed with Power Rangers Jungle Fury. Now, I'm not a massive Power Rangers fan. I've only ever seen Jungle Fury and the successor to it, RPM. But for some reason, Jungle Fury, it just really got on with me. I loved this show so much. And I think that's for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it was based around the animal kingdom, so every character in this had an animal spirit. So the Red Ranger had the tiger spirit, the Yellow Ranger had the cheetah spirit. All of the villains had animal spirits as well, and they had really cool designs. I used to love some of the designs of these villains. Also, it had very likeable characters. The Rangers were great because you saw them grow as this series developed, which isn't something TV shows do now. So it really did feel like you were watching a story unfold. For 32 episodes, they were in a very different place at the end than they started out with. So it felt like great. It's not just one episode and then we forget what happens. It actually had a continuing story, which I really enjoyed. Plus, all of the martial arts stuff was amazing. The fight scenes were great. You can't go wrong with Power Rangers. Jungle Fury will always be my favourite Power Rangers series because it's the first one I was introduced to, and I just thought it was amazing. We're halfway through the ranking, and next I have Bear Behaving Badly. I love Ned the Bear. He was amazing. This show was pretty laid back. It had likeable characters. Ned was great. The villain from what I remember, Andy Prank, or Mr. Angry Pants as Ned used to call him, was a fantastic villain. Bear Behaving Badly was one of those shows I was once again the ideal age for. I think I was about 7 or 8 when this was on, and I used to love it. I used to come home from school and watch it, part of CBBC's lineup, and it was an amazing show. More light-hearted, weren't action-packed, it was just lovable characters. Loved seeing how Ned would always outsmart Angry Pants at every occasion. Bear Behaving Badly was a great show, ideal for the age I was, and I always have fond memories of it. The 2003 Spider-Man series, loosely set in the same universe as the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films. When this was released, the original Spider-Man film in 2002 had been out for about a year, so the events of that film technically happened in this series. I honestly think this series is underrated. Everyone remembers the 90s Spider-Man series. Everyone remembers the Spectacular Spider-Man series, which came after this. No one talks about this Spider-Man series, and I thought it was great. Totally fitted the early 21st century. It was very modern. It was very realistic. It was also very gripping. A couple of these episodes, you're on the edge of your seat. I still have the DVD to this day, and it's amazing. It's an amazing series. A lot of the character designs are great. The interpretation of the villains are also really strong, particularly the Lizard and Electro. They did a great job with making Electro sympathetic in this series, and that was great. Plus, there's only one series of this, so I know everyone talks about Spectacular Spider-Man should have a third series. In my opinion, this Spider-Man series should have a second series. It was, of course, very expensive to make because it was animated with CGI, which was pretty new at the time. But I just think that adds to its uniqueness. I love the animation in this. It took a lot of effort, and I'm grateful for growing up with this series. Also, it ended on a tragic cliffhanger where it appears Peter Parker just gives up as Spider-Man. He throws a suitcase with his costume in the water, and that's it, he walks away. It ends on such an emotional cliffhanger, which kids shows don't generally do. They kind of imply that, you know, everything's okay, but at the end of this series, no, we're all depressed now. But saying that, this was an amazing show. Some of the action was great, the animation was, some of the action scenes were great, the animation was wonderful, and I'm glad I grew up with this Spider-Man series. It was something very different. And in first place, the #1 kids show that I grew up with when I was a kid, the one that I would always watch and was obsessed with, is none other than What's New Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo was my first obsession. I had all of the Scooby-Doo DVDs. I still have them to this day. They are up in the loft though. I was obsessed with this franchise, and What's New Scooby-Doo was the first Scooby-Doo series, which I felt was for my generation. I would say What's New Scooby-Doo, it was broadcast during the early 2000s, and it's the closest they've come to making Scooby-Doo Where Are You? But with a modern twist. It was adapted for the modern world. All of the characters were given an update for the 21st century, and I think it works. What's New Scooby-Doo? It's a fun series. The characters are likeable. It's great seeing the villains. For a kid like me who loved Scooby-Doo, it was great to try and figure out who was behind the mysteries. And plus, you know, I used to have a lot of the toys from this show, a lot of the characters, especially the monsters. I was obsessed with some of the monsters in this series. There are tons of Scooby-Doo shows. I think every generation has a Scooby-Doo show. What's New Scooby-Doo was mine. I loved it very, very much. It was a great show. And if you had come and seen me when I was about from the ages of 6 to 9, we would probably be talking about What's New Scooby-Doo, because that's honestly the show I was obsessed with the most. So thanks for watching, guys. I really do hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe in order to receive great and maybe even improved quality content in the future. And of course, please feel free to let me know what kids shows did you grow up with and why do you think they're better than any other kids show on earth. Obviously, it's all down to opinion, but you know, opinions are good and we should be able to express them. So thanks for watching once again, and I will see you in another one. See ya!